Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome, Senator LaHood. I will be sorry to see you go.
Thank you.
I think you're a good one.
Thank you.
And we kind of had a bad beginning because you and I kind of went at each other about the earmark thing. I remember when you were being confirmed, and as it turned out, I really like you. I want to talk about this from the context of what you have the authority to do without congressional action, just hypothetically. I understand that your hands are tied in many ways because this is more complicated than just this issue, because obviously, in case anyone isn't paying attention, a lot of our friends in the European Union are stressed right now. And we are trying to do everything we can to make sure our export market remains in the European Union. It's important to our economy. And I get that it's complicated, but some people have been opposed to Senator Thune's and my legislation on the basis that this is something the administration can do without legislation. Do you believe that's the case?
I believe that we could, we have the opportunity to probably not go as far as your legislation goes, but what we could do is send this to ICAO and have them take it up and consider it. But Senator, I don't have the authority really to go as far as your legislation goes.
That's what I assumed, and that's why I thought that some of the objections to our legislation was misplaced, because I don't think that you have the authority to do what our legislation purports to do. The other thing I wanted to cover with you is that what is upsetting to me about this is the notion that they would tax us on complete routes, not airspace over the European Union, and that this money would not even need to be used to do anything to impact emissions or global warming or the environment. Am I correct in saying that every dime of this tax they're trying to put on our domestic airline industry could go towards anything they wanted to spend it on in their government?
That's correct.
So not only is it taxing us for flying over airspace that has nothing to do with the EU, it also does not even have to be used for the stated purpose of why they're collecting the money in the first place.
That's correct.
Let me also ask you how the airline industry is working with the administration on, I know you've talked about this a little bit, but if you would elaborate in any way you're comfortable with. I know that the Canadian airline industry just finalized their agreement with the Canadian government, and that they will voluntarily achieve a 2% reduction in emissions each year through 2020. That was done through agreement with the Canadian airline industry and the Canadian government. The airline industry indicates to my office that they are working well with your administration on reaching an agreement. Do you agree with that? Do you think we're making progress towards an agreement?
We have a great relationship with our friends in the airline industry, every one of them.
Well, let me try again. Do you think that you are making progress towards an agreement on a voluntary reduction in emissions?
The answer is definitely yes. We're moving in the right direction.
Okay. One option for the U.S. and other nations opposing this is to file an 84 complaint under the Chicago Convention. Do you believe that U.S. should file an Article 84?
Well, we're debating that within the administration, Senator, and we have that decision hasn't been made.
Okay. I think that Senator Thune and I would agree that you should, for what it's worth. I can't speak for the rest of the senators, but anybody who co-sponsors this legislation would think that an Article 84 would be necessary. What's the downside of a country other than the United States filing the 84 against the EU as opposed to us taking the lead? There's a provision that allows us to do that. I don't know if that same provision is allowed by other countries. I just don't know the answer to that. I know that we have the ability to do it. And can you list for us what other countries have instructed their airlines not to participate in the EU ETS?
Could I just get that for the record for you rather than try to say it off the top of my head? Or look, I don't want to thumb through all these pages. I'm sure it's in this book somewhere.
Sure. And I would love to, at least for the administration, to indicate what is in the way, and there may be other complicating factors that are not directly related to this issue. But you've said clearly you think our legislation is important. I think you've said clearly you oppose this policy. It would be very helpful if the administration could let us know why they cannot come out in favor of our legislation. If we could get any specificity, and that may be another flagpole that you need to talk to as it relates to that. But I think it's important for us to know, because the administration can help with this if they would come out in favor of it, and I think it would be helpful if they would. Thank you.
Thank you.
Secretary LaHood.